You know, when we're watching sports, our eyes are glued to the action, right? The insane goals, the monster home runs, the dunks that just defy gravity. But what if I told you that underneath all that physical brilliance, there's this invisible world, a hidden language that's actually deciding who wins and who loses? Well, that's exactly what we're going to decode today. So let me just ask you this straight up. What do you think is the single most powerful weapon in all of sports? Just take a second and think about it. Is it that fastball sizzling in at over 100 miles an hour? Or that perfect defense-splitting pass? Nah. Those are amazing, for sure, but they're just the end result. The real power, the source of it all, is something else entirely.
It's the words, it's the signs, the calls, the quick little signals. That's the secret weapon. It's the invisible architecture that championships are built on. And today, we're pulling back the curtain.
Okay, first things first. We have to wrap our heads around the modern locker room. It's not what it used to be. It's basically a mini United Nations, which creates this massive communication puzzle that has to be solved long before anyone even steps onto the field.
Get a load of this number, 66. That's how many different nationalities are represented in the English Premier League. Just imagine, trying to get a complex tactical idea across to a group of people from 66 different countries. And this chart just drives the point home. The majority of players aren't even English. You're looking at a modern-day Tower of Babel. If you don't have a system to bridge that gap, you just have these little linguistic groups, and any hope of team chemistry would be totally destroyed.
So how do they do it? It's actually a pretty brilliant three-part strategy. First, you've got what are called cultural brokers. These are interpreters, yeah, but they do so much more than just translate. They help a player navigate a whole new life. Then you've got the text side. Language apps being used by everyone, from coaches learning Portuguese to players learning English. But honestly, the coolest solution is what's called the teamlect. It's a stripped-down, super-functional language for the field. Just keywords. Press, drop, man on. It's basically a custom-made dialect born out of pure necessity that cuts through all the noise for clear, fast communication when the pressure's on.
All right, so let's zoom in on the game itself. Because out there in the heat of the moment, you don't have time for a full conversation. Language has to be encoded, it has to be lightning fast and razor sharp.
Okay, picture an NBA game. A point guard is driving to the basket. A defender yells ice, and bam! In a split second, the entire defense shifts. They force the ball handler towards the sideline, trapping them, using that boundary line like an extra defender. One word, one syllable, and an entire complex strategy is executed instantly. Now, hop over to a soccer pitch. You'll hear this one screamed constantly. Man on! It's this urgent, vital alarm. It means, heads up, someone's coming up behind you in your blind spot. Protect the ball or get rid of it right now. Just two words that literally save the day hundreds of times in a single game. And in baseball, a high pop fly, an outfielder yells, I got it! And then another player yells back, take it. Now that's not another command, it's the confirmation. It closes the communication loop. It means, I hear you, it's all yours, I'm getting out of the way. It's an absolutely non-negotiable safety protocol.
And see, this all fits into this super rigid verbal pecking order. It's a system designed specifically to prevent those horrible high-speed collisions. The center fielder, they're the apex predator. They have the best angle, so their call trumps everyone. And outfielders call trumps and infielders because the infielder might be running backwards, totally blind to what's going on. It's a chain of command that is shouted out loud, and it is absolute.
But, you know, it's not just the players who have a secret language. The officials, the refs, the umpires, they have their own whole playbook of sophisticated communication tricks to keep control and, more importantly, to calm things down when they get heated.
And everything here is dictated by culture. Just look at the night and day difference between rugby and soccer. In rugby, there's a powerful culture of deference. Players call the referee sir, only the team captain is even allowed to speak to him. Then you have soccer, where historically it's been a culture of dissent. Players swarm the ref, screaming about a call. They're two completely different worlds with two completely different ways of dealing with authority.
So how does an official handle that dissent?
Okay, let's look at a classic case study in high-stakes negotiation. You've got a Mets pitcher who throws a baseball behind a Dodgers batter. It's obvious retaliation for an old injury. The umpire immediately ejects him, and the Mets manager, Terry Collins, comes charging out of the dugout absolutely furious.
So in the middle of this screaming match, the umpire, Tom Hollian, doesn't scream back. He leans in close and says this amazing line, "Our ass is in the jackpot now." Now that's not just some random slang. It's a very specific piece of umpire jargon. It means we are in a seriously messed up, no-win situation. Hollian is being a genius here. He's de-escalating by bringing the manager onto his side. He's saying, look, you and me, we're in this together. Because of the history between these teams, the league office is watching us both. My hands are tied. He completely shifts the blame from himself to the system. Just brilliant.
And that line is just one tool in a whole kit officials are trained to use. They have things like the quiet word, pulling a player aside to talk privately and lower the temperature. They use open body language, uncrossed arms, open palms to seem less threatening. They'll use the broken record technique, just repeating a simple fact over and over to avoid getting sucked into a pointless argument. And they'll use validation, saying things like, I hear you, or I understand why you're upset, to make a player feel heard, even while the call stays the same.
So, where does this all go from here? Well, no big surprise. Technology is jumping in and completely changing the conversation, making it faster, clearer, and way more secure than ever. In baseball, for example, we are literally watching the death of old-school hand signals. After the huge sign-stealing scandals, the league brought in something called PitchCom. It's an encrypted audio device. The catcher pushes a button on his wristband, and the pitcher hears the call, fastball outside, directly in a little speaker in his cap. It's that simple. Sign stealing is gone, misunderstandings are gone. It is a total game changer.
And over in soccer, officiating is no longer this mysterious black box. The actual audio recordings between the on-field referee and the video assistant referee, the VAR, are now being released to the public. For the very first time, we, the fans, get to hear the debate, the reasoning, the whole process behind those massive, game-deciding calls. It's a whole new level of transparency for the sport.
So look, the next time you're watching a game, try to listen closer. Look beyond the ball. The game is always talking. It's always sending out signals, telling a deeper story. Now that you know a little more of the language, what will you hear?